Thank you all for being here to attend this session today. So today's session is going to be about entrepreneurial thinking. So when we say entrepreneur, it's common for us to link it with a business owner, a CEO or a founder. But my context here is not limited to that. So it is to help each of us to inculcate the entrepreneurial thinking at our workplace. So I want to begin this with a quick poll. It just has one question here. I want to understand your ideas here. So if you could scan the QR code if you have your mobiles with you, or I will also send the link on this chat here. So let's take 2 or 3 minutes here.
There is only one question, is it?
Yes, there's just one question. Okay, I'll just give a quick 30 seconds for the others who are trying to complete it. So here is the result. I also wanted to show it to you all. So we have 13 oaths that say the idea is the most important, and then there are 2 who say that the you don't think that the idea is most important, and one honest soul who said that he or she is not sure. Okay, so let's look back on this in a while, and we'll try to understand the right answer to this. So moving on. So we have 2 types of thinking here. One is the managerial thinking, which is also called as a causal reasoning. As the word implies, it is a cause and effect approach. And it, as the picture shows here, it actually begins with a predetermined goal. And then we have a given set of means here. And we seek to identify the optimal, which could be the fastest, cheapest, or the most efficient alternative to achieve the given goal. To make it more context oriented, what managerial thinking is what each of us do every day. It could be on reaching the office on time. So the goal is reaching the office on time, and then there are different means. And when we look at business scenarios, it is when you choose the target market with the highest potential return in marketing, or in terms of finance, it is picking a portfolio with the lowest risk. And when we also look in terms of HR, it is hiring the best person for the job. So all of that are driven based on the goals. Here we also have Genghis Khan, because he has a goal. He wants to conquer most of the world. As we know, he's conquered 2/3 of the known world. So the goal is known, and he used his different means. There is a plan, there's a process to it. So this is the managerial thinking that we all use in our day-to-day works. And then we have here the entrepreneurial thinking, which is the effectual reasoning. As you see, this does not begin with a goal. There is no goal here. It only begins with a given set of means, and it allows us to emerge into goals contingently over time. The ends, it changes based on many factors. It could be one's imagination, one's aspiration, and the people they interact with. And we all know that these 3 factors, they totally vary for each one of us. Someone might have vivid imaginations and the other might not. The most important thing and the interesting thing, in fact, is that the best entrepreneurs use both of these thinking methods, actually, both these models. So an example we have here for entrepreneurial thinking is this. This is Columbus. He's trying to locate where Colombia is, US is. So this is an example of entrepreneurial thinking where he does not have any goal. He's just using his means. He's just traveling around. So when I said both the types of thinking are essential, I just wanted to put it on this product life cycle. So for everyone to bring the context, product life cycle is followed by every organization, every business unit, every product follows this cycle. So it begins with the introduction, followed by the growth, and then the maturity, and then the decline. So this could vary for each organization, but the cycle remains the same. When I mean it varies, I mean the time duration. For someone, the introduction phase could be faster. For someone, it could be slower. And the same for growth and maturity. For some organizations, the maturity could be huge. That's where they milk out all the money. Or for some, it could be short due to different reasons. So what we are looking at here is in the introduction phase and the growth phase, we need entrepreneurial thinking. And in the matured phase, we are looking for managerial thinking. That is because in the entrepreneurial phase, we are still looking out for ways to solve problems and create solutions. We are not still sure what pain points we are trying to identify. But in the matured phase, the problem is identified and we've also created a solution to it. And now we are trying to maximize the ROI, which means process needs to be set, and this will act as a cash cow for the organization. So now that's a lot of talking. So I thought I'll give an example for you all. So let's consider how the process is in building a restaurant. Imagine an entrepreneur who wants to start an Indian restaurant. Let's look at both causal and entrepreneurial. So in the causal process, she would start by selecting a location very carefully based on the market research. So she's doing it all based on goals. She's segmenting the market, she's targeting it based on her estimates, designing the restaurant to make it appealing for her target segment, and then raising the required funding, bringing the team together, and then finally she implements the strategies to make her restaurant a success. So as you can see, this is all based on goals. She's driving the entire process based on the goals. But in the effectual process, it would depend on who the chef is, what she knows, and whom she knows. These are the three questions and the three means that we saw. So for understanding the process here, let us say that she's a good Indian chef. As you can see in the picture, she's an Indian chef and she's considering to start an independent business. So assuming that she has very little money of her own, because that's how most of us start, and she decides to pursue her business by actually persuading her friends to bring down lunch for them and for their office colleagues to sample. So that's how she begins. She does not care about the market nor the a place to start with. She just begins with her friends. And then let us further say that now some of her colleagues think she's really good, that the food is really good. And then she expands her customers to the entire office space. And then she begins to serve lunch. And she brings all this food prepared at home and delivers lunch personally also. In this process, she could save a lot of money and she could now rent a location, start a restaurant, which is, quite contrary to how we did in the causal thinking. So after this, it looks like a nice Tamil movie where you can predict what is going on, who is going to die, who is the killer, and all that. But it doesn't go on like that. It could be equally plausible that the lunch business does not actually take off beyond the first few customers. But instead, it could be that she discovers the customers are actually interested in something different from her. It could be her ethnic philosophy, her life experiences, or Indian culture, or any other aspect of her personality or experience. So we can see here that her initial idea is actually going for a toss. She wanted to start a restaurant, but it no longer continues with that. She could then decide based on feedback which business she would like to continue. Cite a few examples. It could be that she would get into different industries such as education, entertainment, or travel, anything that relates to her personalities. It all circles down to the three questions that we saw. It is who she is, what she knows, and whom she knows. So this gives an understanding of how a causal and a effectual reasoning would be.
Chris, just a minute. Are we
Sure.
still in that AI image, or
Yes,
you have
yes,
some
we are
other
still in the
presentation
AI image.
slide? Okay. I thought
Okay.
my screen is stuck or something.
So moving on. So what are some results of effectual reasoning? So we are saying you don't determine the goal, you go by the means. So here we have this Gillette. It was actually a result of this effectual reasoning where King Gillette, he was wondering why someone has to, keep on reusing and why not use disposable razors. So that is how we have these disposable razors now. And the other one here is Tom Fat Joe, a professional in Houston. He was actually trying to find a solution for a garbage disposal problem. So that's how these huge garbages were actually found. So these are few, very few that I could, bring out here. And then moving forward, so we have seen the effectual reasoning is with a given set of means and that the goals emerge over time. But what are these means and how do we reach the end does not occur naturally to all because we are all attuned with the causal thinking. So based on the research of 30 expert entrepreneurs and how they reason out specific problems, five principles are derived so that they can be learned and applied. So this is the first principle, the affordable laws. So let us compare each principle with the causal and effectual reasoning so that we can differentiate how we are currently processing it and how we can go ahead with it. So in the case of causal, when we launch a new product, we analyze the market, we choose the segments, as with the same example we saw with the chef, and we expect highest return on value. It's a natural result of how we've been working and with a single mantra of maximizing returns by selecting the optimal strategy. But in effectual reasoning, they think think in terms of affordable loss rather than the expected returns. So what we mean by this affordable loss is that what they are willing to lose rather than what they expect to make. This does not end with just a single person, which means the affordable loss is not restricted to one's own wallet or one's own pocket. He or she uses the process of building the project to bring out other stakeholders on board. By stakeholders, we mean here your customers, your colleagues, and so on. And they leverage what they can afford to lose together, which means your share in the pie is much less and it makes it affordable. So then comes the $1,000,000 question. How much is an affordable loss? Is there a formula to calculate it? We have a formula for everything in Max, from calculus to trigonometry. There is everything. There's a formula for everything. But the estimate of affordable loss does not depend on any formula. It actually even does not depend on the venture, but it depends on the person. It varies from person to person and even across his or life stages and circumstances. I'm sure that we could relate to this. When I say it varies from person to person, there are multiple factors such as the age and the responsibilities one that has. So when we look at the previous chef example, when she was trying to, create the restaurant, the affordable loss that she had as in the causal thinking and the effectual thinking is different. In the effectual reasoning, she just started off by preparing lunch, by taking samples actually. So that was her affordable loss. She was able to give the samples and then scale it up. But whereas in the causal, it was the reverse. She had a fixed budget and she had to work on the budget there. So the budget there is the goal, and then you have different means of setting up a restaurant such that it is liked by the customers and so on. So now here we create means to reach the goal rather than setting the goal itself. So that is how the affordable loss principle works. And next one is the pilot in the plane. The pilot in the plane principle emphasizes the importance of control, co-creation, and shaping the future in uncertain environments. It's just not about the individual taking control. It also comes with the pilot controlling, and it's like the pilot controlling an aircraft, steering the ventures by leveraging the resources they have at their disposal. Like we saw in the earlier principle, they do not travel alone. They navigate along by co-creating with other pilots. Again, they could be any of your stakeholders, starting from partners to customers, who bring their own unique resources and perspectives to the venture. So this is actually a collaborative process. And by this, it actually enables create a wider range of means and create new opportunities that may not have been possible individually. Because each set of these individuals have their different three questions that we saw: who they are, what they know. So based on that, the opportunities turn out to be different. The next one is the bird in hand. This determines the means in the process. It could be based on one's traits. So bird in hand is what you actually have at your disposal. It could be someone who I know, and then what do I know and who I know. When I say who I know, it means it could be someone from my social network, my professional network, anyone who stays close to your house, or anybody for that matter. And then what I know again varies, right from one's education, their training, their expertise, and their experience. And who I am is one's traits, tastes, and abilities. Like we saw in the previous slide, it's one's imagination and all the other traits that comes along. And this varies for each individual. So using a combination of these means, now it does not stick to one. There is a different combination, and using these combinations, they begin to imagine different possibilities and take action. And what we have here next is the crazy quilt. As you can see, the quilt is of different materials and it's then weaved together. So this crazy quilt principle of effectual reasoning is the focus on building partnerships rather than beating competitors. So when you look at all these principles, it is not just about an individual. When we look in our ideal world, entrepreneurs actually, they don't tend to share their ideas. They're afraid of the ideas being copied, or even in our workplace where we don't share our ideas. We want to restrict the knowledge to ourselves. But this effectual reasoning does not come like that. It comes also from around the who we know question. So because it does not depend on who the competitor is, it is because they don't have an idea of who the competitor is, because they are not predetermined with their idea here. So at this stage, a detailed competitive analysis will have little value. Instead, what they do is they actually approach to different potential customers nearby. In this process, some of the people they interact interact with actually make a commitment. It could be any form of commitment. It could be time, money, resource. And in this process, these people, they self-select into the new venture creation process. We all understand that co-creation and a partner is very vital because you need that all the support that you get. So actually, they find co-partners in this process rather than actually searching for one. The partnership principle goes well with the affordable loss principle also, because like we already saw in the affordable loss, the share of the pie is reduced on each individual, and this helps to bring the entrepreneur's idea to market with very little cash expenditure. So also in this process, obtaining pre-commitments from key stakeholders, the suppliers or customers, they help to reduce uncertainty in the early stage for the enterprise. Finally, but the most important point is that since the entrepreneur is not wedded to any particular market for his or her idea, expanding the network of strategic partnership determines to a great extent which market or markets the company will eventually end up entering or creating. So, like we saw in the case of the chef, she's not wedded to the idea that she wants to be a chef. She has an expertise. She's built it over the years, and it could be that she starts off with a restaurant, but towards the end, it might turn to be anything that is different. We also have examples of this within our organizations, within products that we've worked on. For example, we have TF Masters. It was started out to be a social networking platform, but then now we all know how it's turned out to be. So all these principles are based on the effectual reasoning. Moving on to the last principle. So we are all aware of this quote: when life gives you lemons, make lemonades. But what this principle says is don't just stop with lemonade. Make lemon cakes or make Greek lemon chicken or anything that is possible with a lemon. So basically, it is the ability to turn the unexpected into the profitable and take advantage of them. So we've seen the 5 principles now. It is by research of these experts that they've brought down these principles. The expert entrepreneurs naturally exhibit these principles, and for us to inculcate each of these principles have been created. So when we face circumstances of uncertainty, we actually dive back into these principles and try to understand how we will use each of these means to create goals rather than directly running towards the goal, rather than trying to fix the issue first. So let's dive back to this. Is idea the most important? What do you all think now? Is idea the most important? This is a question, so I request you to unmute yourself and answer.
Yes, idea is the most important as per me.
Yeah.
But when we say idea is the most important, it's like you are getting wedded to the idea. Just in case of the chef example that we saw, if the chef thinks that she's only a chef, then she's getting wedded to the idea, and she can never possibly extend herself into the other opportunities. She cannot, she cannot explore other opportunities such as her into education, her likeliness into education. So when you wed yourself into the idea, you don't get the opportunity to explore yourself. This could be even true for the other TF Masters product that I said. So we didn't actually get wedded to the idea. That is why we were able to actually reach this far. This example is also same for Amazon. Amazon actually started with a Kindle. I'm sure you all know that. But if Amazon had been wedded with that idea and stayed as a Kindle forever, Amazon would never be what it is now.
Chris, actually, sorry to interrupt. It's not like sticking to an idea or exploring more ideas, because idea is important. As per the thing is, idea is important, but we have to explore more idea. We should not stick to a same idea which we are into. That is what I think you are trying to convey, right?
Correct. The thing is, the
Okay.
idea is not the most important.
I just want to know, there are 2 people who said, like 2 people voted for idea is not the most important, right?
Correct, Balaji.
Who's that? Can the
No,
person
I
come
did not.
forward? No, you do
Yeah.
not know. Can the person come forward and say why? Somebody voted. There is no
Yeah,
right
there
or
were
wrong
3
here.
votes.
So you can say that I'm the one.
Actually, that is the right answer.
No, but who is that? I just want to know.
I think now they will open up, Chris, because you said that is the right answer. Let's see. Okay.
Who are those 2 people?
Myself and Karthik.
No. I raised hand
What?
before Balaji asked this question. Not
Karthi had a question. Karthi raised hand for a question.
per question.
Who is
Yes.
the person who answered it? Idea is not the most important.
I voted for that.
Can you say why? Like you would have thought some
Okay.
reason behind
Yes,
it, right?
because we need the money, right? First, before getting an idea, we have to have money for the investment in the market.
Okay, fair
Also,
enough.
we need to have an idea how to market our business, and we have to know who is our customers, end customers, all those things. First, we have to map it, and then we can get an idea.
So, is there anyone else who voted? Second person. Thanks for being so honest. I'm the one who voted idea is not the most important. The reason is more than the idea, the execution is the key for being an entrepreneur. Okay. How do you execute everything right from getting the idea into the action and then marketing, like what Chris had been saying, everything there. Okay. Including the finance that Methusa has been saying. So idea is only a part of it. It's not the most important to become an entrepreneur. You would have seen people copy somebody's idea also and they could win. Okay. So the idea is not very key there, but how they execute it is the most key. Opening a restaurant is an idea, but that idea doesn't make you success as an entrepreneur. How you execute that idea, because opening a restaurant is an idea anybody can have. It's not a novel idea or innovative, unique idea, right? You see a lot of restaurants opening, closing, some being success. The reason how they execute. So execution is the most key for an entrepreneur. Chris, am I correct?
Yes, Balaji, that's right. And in the part of the execution, it is important of co-creating and all the five principles that we saw. That is who I am, who we are, who I know. All these also play an important role because it helps with the execution. Anyone have a question? Because I was not able to see the team's screen. We can take any questions.
So Karthik here. So the reason I raised my hand to talk about what you have mentioned here. So is the idea is most important. I personally believe it is most important because I see idea is not just a, one time thought. I believe idea has to evolve time to time based on the situations. Even though if you pick restaurant as a business model, that is, I don't believe that is an idea, right? So how do you execute that also includes in this idea, maybe a thinking session, I believe. And also it has to evaluate and it has to be very open to, understand the market, and we will also be very honest and open to revise the idea if it is required, right? So I always believe idea is important, but I'm slightly deviating from what Balaji is, talking about execution. Of course, I agree. There are, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, all the stages of entrepreneurship life is important. It can be execution or approach or money or even idea. Everything is important. But I believe executing what is the question. There is no point of running fast when you are in the wrong direction, right? So I believe when you pick an idea and work on the idea and see whether it is like fitting the market, then you execute it. It will be even, the execution path can be easy when you have a proper idea, right? So when you want to build a similar, product like Amazon, execution will be really challenging, right?
Correct.
When you pick some unique concepts, then execution can be little easy for us to, go to the market and validate our idea. And of course, that idea has to be reinvented again based on the market response. So I personally feel idea is very important for being an entrepreneurship. That's my point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karthik. That's true that idea is important, but Karthik also mentioned that you're not wedded to the idea. You're still exploring other options there. So that is the most important takeaway from there. It is not just that you create one idea and then stick on to it. Okay, so now that we've seen this, I wanted to take you through this effectuation cycle. So we've seen these different principles and that you need to use these different means to actually reach your goals. And then it does not come as a one shot. It does not go by saying life will hit you with a lemon at once, or you'll have only one certain phase that happens. It is actually a cycle. It could be from starting from bird in hand to then you expand your means, you find new means, and then there is this partners. So this is actually a cycle. So I wanted you to all understand that it does not come phase by phase. It's like you juggle with things, multiple things, and that's how the effectuation cycle comes into place. And in this process, you actually create viable product. There are three things that you do when you create a product. You check for the viability and then the feasibility and the desirability. So when these three things are achieved, then you have a minimum viable product. And all of this actually goes hand in hand with the effectuation cycle. And that's how the title goes, the minimum possible entrepreneur. So with all your minimum possible efforts, you create the minimum viable product. So this is about the entrepreneurial thinking. I had limited myself mostly with entrepreneurial thinking and not too much into the MVP. Probably that's for some other day. So if any of you have any questions, we can take it up now. Thank you all.